Hey, what's happening, everyone? Cody Lefevre coming to you here with a leg day session. This a few days before the 700th session. That video is edited. It's being uploaded. It'll be posted shortly. This one was just before that one. Doing legs. Knocked out a bunch of reps, but only 3 movements in this session. Kept a superset here on the squat, followed by a stiff leg deadlift with the old school barbell you see right in front of the rack there. Rest low between these supersets. The T3 movement I chose for this session was with my leg press. That's a banded leg press. Doing mini reps on that thing. You'll see that at the end of the video. This combination here was actually a little bit more draining than I expected. Trying to dial in the constant tension tempo aspect of that bodybuilding style of lifting. That's not something I've been that good at, and it's especially hard with using traditional compound movements, not having machines or lots of cable varieties or anything like that. Doing squats and deadlifts, it is harder to dial into specific muscle groups with just your standard equipment. However, it's not impossible. You just have to have your mind involved in the way that you're moving, actually thinking about the way that you're doing something, not just going up and down. So you'll see here the weights are actually pretty low. I did that because I wanted to keep the rest fairly low. This session did take a little bit longer than I would like to take on this kind of session with just 3 movements. The biggest reason for that was I'm filming, so setting up the camera, getting the camera angles, that kind of stuff. I think I did have some camera troubles with some angles, so I think I actually did an extra set. I'm not 100% sure. This was like a few days ago. Anyways, knocked the session out. Took just about an hour, maybe a little bit more because of filming. The warm-up, it was actually pretty cold this day, so I include all of the lifting with the warm-up as well. And it went just over an hour with the warm-up and the filming and all of that. Did 7 sets total on these 2 main lifts. That's the rep max set with 6 follow-up half sets. So I did 12 rep max, and then the half sets was a 6x6. 6 sets, 6 reps each. A half set is half of the reps of the rep max performed. So this is nearer the T3 range for the rep max. I could potentially have done just all max rep sets like a VDIP with this weight. However, because I'm trying to be strict with feeling the constant tension, having a tempo and a specific range of motion dialed in, like especially here with the squats, sitting back into my hamstrings and feeling my adductors at the bottom, executing the lift in a very specific way is really important, and not just for powerlifting, but also too for bodybuilding as I embark on this more specific way of training, something that I'm less familiar with. As you know, did a whole lot more powerlifting, not a whole lot of bodybuilding, done a bunch of endurance type of training, so higher repetitions, just getting the work done fast. Been doing that since I came up here to high elevation, intermixed with some strength phases. I've hit PRs along the way in these 700 days. That includes 1 rep maxes, that includes 20 rep maxes, and total rep maxes in an individual session. All of this comes by focusing in on progression in a specific aspect, whether that's an intensity progression or a volume progression or a density progression. Density meaning you're working on limiting your rest every week, so that way the workout becomes more dense. So those are 3 pretty usual standards of progression. The 4th one is a qualitative metric. It's harder to dial in because, we're talking about aesthetics here. I guess that's the ultimate goal, is did my arms get bigger? And you'll see that in the 700th session, where it is an arms day, and I'm really excited for y'all to see that video. It was a fun one. This is a little bit different. I'm working on how did the lift feel? How is my body looking in response to the way that I'm training? Just as a slight tangent here, the bar is off-centered when I set up on this set. This is something, if I'm not paying attention to the way I'm set up is I will favor my left side. That's because I do have a pinched nerve and a disc issue in my upper back where it's kind of like uncomfortable or pinchy if I set up. And so I do have to take a little bit longer in setting up for squats. I do this way too frequently. It's a big error, and if I was squatting a big weight, that would just absolutely suck having it offset by an inch like that was. So hey, thanks for the high camera angle, Cody, setting that up, showing you how much you suck. So anyways, the offset bar, it just, one of those things that if I set up too fast, then it's going to happen. And the back does not feel that great with the heavy weights, to be quite honest. So I'm doing the bodybuilding phase in part because it will naturally reduce the weight that I'm working with, and it's going to give me an effective style of training, although I have some limitations. So are these light weights for a powerlifter? Certainly. For the movements that I'm doing, for their intent, the quality, the qualitative progression that I was just talking about? Not necessarily, because this session happened, my legs were sore. That's kind of like a pseudo way to gauge things. It's not necessarily indicative of muscular growth, but what it does indicate is that I was effectively training the muscle groups that I did want to train. So the compound lifts, I'm dialing those in with my form and my execution. And that feels pretty good. I've got to haul a bunch of wood tomorrow in the sled, and I feel like my legs will be mostly recovered. I did some squatting today on the 701st session. Feels weird saying that. Crazy. But today was with the safety squat bar. I didn't superset with deadlifts. Just did a bunch of safety squat bar squats. Kept those lighter, much higher repetitions. This machine, when I got it maxed out on the full band resistance like it is there, all bottom bands, all top bands, I think it's about 300 pounds, maybe a little bit less. The bands are a little bit old, so I got to get new bands. But I'll probably be adding more bands using the just normal style bands because the machine actually functions like that. It's pretty cool. But this is awesome for the constant tension tempo effect. Really feeling this in my quads while I'm doing the MVP squats on the shuttle. That's what that is. Anyways, just excited to already have the 700 session done. That video's ready to go. That was a leg day session. Did the legs again today, and hauling wood tomorrow. Just lots of training going on. Thanks for watching the video.